Hey guys, welcome back to the Insanity Carnival. Today we're going to be cleaning out a marine gas tank, plastic. I'm having a bit of bogging issues with my boat, so I'm going through and checking everything. There'll be a couple other videos about cleaning the carburetors and a few other things, but the first thing we got to do is clean out this. I feel like there's some sediment in here, and we definitely got to get in here and clean out the pickup valve. That's inside and make sure it's clean so that we're getting good fuel flow. So first step is to get all the gas out, which I've already done. Just use the siphon, there wasn't much left in it. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take off the fuel gauge here, which is connected to the pickup, pull that out and clean the housing. Let's do that now. Here's the fuel gauge we need to take out that's connected to the pickup valve. 4 Torx bits, let's take those out now. Okay. Got the 4 Torx bits out. Now it's time to pull out the assembly, which has the float for the fuel gauge and the pickup valve. Let's see if there's a trick to getting this out. Okay, I've got the unit out. You'll notice there's a gasket around here, so inspect that and make sure there's no cracks or it hasn't deteriorated. Float seems to be moving just fine. So here's the tube and the pickup, and we'll give it a quick clean with some seafoam or brake cleaner, but I can blow right through it. It doesn't seem to be a problem. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's quite clean, so that's good that the pickup's clean. However, in the tank there's some sediment, so we're gonna have to get that out. So let's get in there and do that next. See, now we got the cap off, and we got off where the fuel gauge pickup was. A bit of grime around there, so we'll make sure we clean that up real good before we put that piece back in. So how are we gonna clean the inside and get the sediment out? That's the good question. What we're going to do, we're going to dump in half a bottle of seafoam here. You can use a bunch of different things. We always find seafoam works the best. You throw in about 3/4 of a can, half a can. And we're just going to shake it up a little bit here. And we're going to let it sit, look inside and see how it looks. So let's let that sit for about 15 minutes or so. While we let that sit, we gotta inspect the cap. Now, these caps on those are vented caps, which means as the fuel gets sucked out, there needs to be air to replace it. So if you don't have your valve open, it'll suck in and no gas will get sucked through the thing, won't go in your engine, therefore it won't run. So you gotta make sure that your vent's nice and clean. They got a little O-ring in there. I don't know if you guys can see that. But I'm just going to clean up this cap a little bit with some carb cleaner and a cloth, and make sure that it's venting out nicely. But looks like so far so good, so let's do that. While we're at it, let's clean up the intake and the float. The float looks pretty sticky and gross. Clean both of these now. Well, this has been soaking for about 15-20 minutes now. Looks like it's cleaned up pretty good. I know it's really hard for you to see in there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to drain out the seafoam, put it in an approved container for proper disposal. And then after that, we're going to clean it out with water to rinse out everything that's come loose. You can also power spray the inside of these if you wanted. You can put some rocks or washers or old screws in there with the seafoam, shake it around to agitate it to scrape off any sludge that may have built up in there. But for the most part, you're just going to have to sort of let it soak, let it bake, and rinse it out. Let's rinse it out now. All right, I'm going to fill it right up to the top. Drain it out, fill it up, drain it out, fill it up, drain it out. So there's nothing left inside that we see floating. dried it best I can, just trying to shake out and wiggle all the water out. It looks pretty dry and it looks super clean in there, which is great. So the next step is to put back in our pickup. Now we know that we got to be careful with it. We know we got to make sure that this gasket seats properly. So let's put these pieces in one at a time. Line up the gasket. And then put back in the screws. Next step here is we got to make sure that it's totally super dry before you put any fuel in it. Best thing to do is leave it out in the sun. It's a windy day. It's going to rip right through there and make sure the last of it is dried out. Once it's fully dry, put the cap back on, fill it with fuel, give it a test. Well guys, that's pretty much how you clean out a plastic marine gas tank, get all the crud out. It'll help with fuel flow, which will help your boat run better overall. Hope you liked this video. If you thought it was good, hit like, subscribe. Thanks for joining the Insanity Carnival.